Hello, TCI family, Jonathan's Refuge, and all of our faithful followers and friends from around the world. It is your Bishop Brown, coming to you. Um, Blessed to be here. As most of you know, I was in the hospital for a small stint over the weekend and got out of there, or I should say last week, and got out of there. Keep me in your prayers, keep my heart in your prayers, and we'll keep pushing forward, right? We don't worry nor stress because we only control really two things: our emotions and what we do with them, the actions that come from our emotions. So we determine those two things only. Everything else is out of our control, and we have to allow to let go and let God deal with the world around us. And that includes everything from the loss of our children to our jobs, to the car that cuts you off, to your boss who doesn't like you, to whatever it is. It's out of your control. What you can do is solely be responsible for how your emotions are, for what happens to you and how those emotions react. And then what are the actions that come from that? But today we're going to talk about something that's kind of interesting. We're going to talk about work ethic. What is work ethic mean? Okay. And as I say this, I need you to understand I have a ministry that's unique. We have men's homes where guys come out of prison, and we have homes that are homes of hope for people who have issues, autistic, on the spectrum, ADHD extremes, all kinds of other issues that people might call them disabled. We like to call them, the place they live, the home of extraordinary gentlemen. So they are extraordinary gentlemen that have opportunities in life. And so as I work with these men, one of the things that we do is we have to teach them to become hardworking men, because that's something that has been lost. When I was a kid, I had no choice. Someone said, "Well, when did you get your work ethic?" I had it since 1975, September 18th. I popped out of the womb and said, "Where am I supposed to go work, Dad?" No, of course not. Where did my work ethic start? That's really simple. As a young man, being mentored by my father. So I had a man, a real man, who showed me how to work. Now, I had three dads, and I had three great examples of what work ethics should be. And so often I hear people tell me all the time, "Bishop, you need to take it easy. You work too hard." Don't. I'm going to have plenty of time to take it easy, and so will you. We're only here for a short period of time. I'm 50 years old and I am way past my expiration date. So every day is a blessing. I'll have plenty of time tomorrow or next week or next year to go ahead and enjoy my rest. But right now, I'm at my peak. I'm just shining. I haven't even got to the summit of that peak. Okay. I haven't even got there. I'm on that top slope heading up there real quick. So let's look at what Proverbs 14:23 says. It's one of my favorite scriptures from any spiritual leader in the world, and that was King Solomon. And King Solomon says, "In all toil, that means in all work, there is profit, there is benefit, not just money, but mere talk tends only to poverty." In other words, mere talk, people who just, "Well, I'm thinking about a job, or I'm do this, I'm going to try that." They don't do anything. They're broke. They're not successful. They're crying and whining about everything every day. So it's interesting when we look at the things in our life around us, what makes us not have strong work ethics. When I'm watching my nephew cut a field down on our headquarters, it's a blackberry, probably about a 22,500 square foot section that he's hacking out with these huge machine tools, everything from hedge trimmers and special weed whackers with saws on them and chainsaws attachments and you name it. And he's out here working. And today was a big day for him because, like, we had rain coming in. I've seen guys that are like, "Oh, it's raining. It's cold." I will not stop work for rain, sun, the shining through, thunder. I've even worked through lightning. I don't stop. When I get a task, I accomplish the task. I don't know how to fail because I don't stop. See, I just keep taking one step, one breath, and I move forward. Now, in the New Testament of the Bible, there's a book called Second Thessalonians, chapter 3, verse 10. And I like this one. It says, "For even when we were with you, we would give you this command. If anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat." I know my guys at the refuge are going to be watching this. That means if you didn't work and you didn't bring something to the table, don't eat. No, what it simply means is I've had people. I had a guy that I had to let go for multiple reasons, but very lazy. Unfortunately, lazy, 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 lazy. Y- When you just want to sit in your bed all day and do nothing but watch TV, play video games, talk to your friends, I'm here to tell you, you will find misery, you will find punishment in your life, you will find heartache, you will find suffering, but you will not find any beautiful rainbow at the end. You will find no glory, no love, because the way of the slacker, the lazy man, that path leads to destruction. So again, as we start to go through some of these, there's a couple ones that I want to kind of go through with you, if I may. I love Proverbs. You know, King Solomon, of course, is one of my favorite guys. And let me get to Proverbs 10, if I can find it, of course. Proverbs 10:4. Let's go. Forgive me, church. I'm trying to get to my. That's why I don't like Bibles on a phone. I like the book where you can just open it and go to it. So give me a second to pull up a book. Proverbs 10. Let's see if it pulls up chapter 10. Here we go. We're in Proverbs 10, verse 4. Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands brings wealth. Now, lazy hands is talking about people who don't want to work. When I started my entire empire that I built, that's a multi-million dollar, organization. I started it with 20 bucks to my name. I worked one job 40 hours and I picked up a second job working 40 hours. So I worked 80 hours a week. I got home from the first job. It started at 6 a.m., which means I had to get up at 4 a.m. to get to Seattle, to work that job, to be done at 2 p.m., to get back to my place, to go do a 3 mile walk, 1.5 that way, 1.5 back, to get in my 3 miles for the day for my health because I was in and I am in some serious health issues. And walking is one of the keys to eliminating health problems in your life. So here I am. I get done with that. I get home. I get a shower. So it's an hour's walk, then the shower, then to the next job where I worked another 8 hours. Then I came home, got about 3 to 4 hours sleep, and started the next job the next day and did the same thing over and over and over for a few months. And then I got a third job, and that one was on the weekends. So I was working 16-hour days, Monday through Friday, and getting in my 3 miles of walk every day with no excuse, including while I went through my cancer during that time. So there's no, it was really tough. I was puking. I did puke. I puked. I'd go and do treatments, come back, take my walk, start puking, keep walking, puking, keep walking, puking, go home, get dressed, get in the car, drive to the next job, and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it because lazy equals death. If you're lazy, you will eventually die. A sad, pitiful, horrible death because lazy people don't have money. There are some lazy people that inherit money. That is true. So let me correct myself. But people who are lazy usually die broke and they don't have the resources to fix their health. They don't have the resources to house themselves. That's why they find themselves homeless, living in cars. And when I meet these people, they're my clients. You have to understand, these are clients of my nonprofit. I meet them every day. They live in their cars down the street. And when I ask them their story, I find out the key to it is that there's a massive amount of lazy people. They're entitled in their head. They believe I'm owed something. Now, they did that because some parent before screwed up royally. And as society, we created a bunch of pansies out there. People who, I'm hungry. I need food. Okay. Walk down to the place where they have temporary job services called temp agencies. They'll put you out today in a job. You'll be shoveling dirt. You'll be taking boxes from one thing to another. You'll be doing all kinds of just the grunt work. How do I know? Because that's what I did. That's right. I did all that. And I did such a good job at what I did that the agencies who hired us said, I want that. That guy's a gem. Let's hire that guy. And that's how I started everything again after losing it all. It's because it's called work ethics. Proverbs 12, when you look at Proverbs, the book of Proverbs, let's go ahead and fast forward here to Proverbs 12, and we're looking at verse 11. And it says, those who work their land will have abundant food, but those who chase fantasies have no sense. I love that. You know, someone asked me when they came to visit the new property where I'm at here, our headquarters. And they came in and they were just wondering after they saw it all, they said, I'm just wondering, don't didn't you give all your money? You have no money. It goes to everything goes and just goes back in. That's correct. And then they asked, well, aren't you worried? Like, what happens if there's a recession? What happens? I mean, this is a lot of property. This is a lot of equipment. You've got tractors you've purchased. You've got vehicles. You've got four men's homes now. Oh, the rents on that. Yeah, they're close to over $20,000. And the mortgage is close to $10,000 on the one property. That's a lot of money. When your mortgages and your rents are sitting at $20,000, oh no, what do you do? I don't worry because I know how to work hard. I have work ethics. I have learned the secrets to know how to manage money, how to make money, how to keep money. And then the key of all of that is a foundation, which is based on work ethics. I have some great men in our organization, leaders, and each one of our leaders, including myself, you could pick me apart and you could pick my leaders apart. Um, but one thing you can't say about any of my leaders or myself at Jonathan's Refuge or any of our key our leadership team, any of them, that they're lazy. I don't know of a lazy one in our group. I work 7 days a week, folks. I got a couple executive directors, and they work. One of them 6, 7 days a week. The other one 5, 6 days a week. Um, I got three of my house managers that are amazing men, and their work ethics. I mean, one of them has issues that he's learning to overcome as a younger man, and stuff, and his free time. And we all have our things that we're battling. I always struggle with those darn freeways and somebody cutting me off, right? And finally, I found a secret to overcome that. See, we're always working on stuff, but it doesn't mean we don't have certain parts of our lives down. One of my favorite guys, he's into race cars and he's a leader in my group. And Paul's amazing. I love him. But what I love about it is whenever I go over to the houses, I do, I just go through and check the houses real quick and make sure guys are behaving and keeping their rooms clean and all that kind of stuff. And his room's immaculate. You could walk, put a finger on the dust and nothing, bounce a quarter on the bed, that kind of stuff. He's a Marine. So once a Marine, always a Marine. And those habits, those good habits and work ethic have stayed with that man forever. And he's one of the hardest working people I know. Doesn't mean he doesn't have problems, just like me. He's got problems like all of us. You know what I mean? Just like the Pope. And so when it comes to when we look at ourselves and we look at work ethic, I just love how we see things a little different because if we work our land, we'll have abundant food. Now I know you're sitting there saying, I don't have land. I live in a men's home and I have a bed that's not even mine. I'm just paying a fee to stay in the bed. Or I'm living in an apartment, or I'm staying at mom and dad's place or wherever you're at. What it means in modern times, because that was back then, you just worked land and you could plant a seed and grow it, and there was food. You could put animals on it, let them graze, and then they can grow, and then you can slaughter the animal, and there's food. You could milk the animal and then just let it graze and have abundant of milk for the rest of your and cheese and things like that. And so what it's saying is go to work, get a job, get off your parents' couch. Stop watching. Let me tell you something. I always, if I walk into one of my men's homes of hope at Jonathan's Refuge and I see a guy watching TV and he doesn't have a job, me and that guy are going to have a problem because that's lazy. You see, if you don't have a job, you shouldn't be watching TV. You should be on the internet searching for a job. But I can't get on the internet, or I don't have internet. You should be out on the street. You should be asking for somebody's newspaper so you can look at the want ads. You should be going to a temp agency. You should be going to your parole officer's building where they have a bulletin board with about 17 companies that will hire anybody in that office tomorrow. There's so much work out there. If someone says they can't find work, they're lazy. Listen, I got friends who drive literally $1 million cars and live in mansions that cost 100,000 a month for a mortgage. That's their mortgage, and they are lazy. So just because you see a guy with a fancy car doesn't mean he's a hard worker. It could be because he was blessed. It could be because he once was a hard worker and now he's not. There's a lot of reasons we don't know about. So you never can look on the outside. God doesn't look on the outside. He looks in here. He peels back, opens the chest up, and gets in there and says, what is this guy's heart? What does he do? And I had someone once say, well, what do you care if you do a good job on a crappy? I mean, if I'm going to the White House, then yeah, I'm going to dress up and I'm going to work my best so that the government sees me. Or, that owner of the $1 million company I've been trying to get into, if he called me, man, I would work like nobody's business. I'd be the greatest. And that's where most people are flawed. You see, the least important job should get the same work ethic, the same attention as the most important job. And if you'll give and I'll give you an example. I got out of prison once and I was at a temp agency and I was very frustrated. I was one of the most successful men in my field. I had been the youngest VP of a publicly traded company in my field. I mean, this thing goes on and on. I can give you the accolades. I couldn't get a job at McDonald's. They wouldn't even hire me because of a record. Mm. So what's their theory? Let's just not. We don't want those people around here. Go ahead. Now, luckily, I'm not a bad guy because then a bad guy just would have said, then I'll just go and I would have waited afterwards for that manager that turned me down to walk out. I'd have robbed the manager and take their money and be like, thanks for not hiring me, man. Got an easy job. Geez, I just made in one night robbing you what I could have made in like 3 months working for you. A lot easier. Thanks for letting me know I should be a criminal. And the cycle continues, right? No, I didn't turn that path. Instead, what I said was, no, I know the right and wrong, and I'm going to do right. And so I had non-lazy hands. My hands weren't lazy. And I wasn't chasing stupid fantasies and watching games and trying to play on YouTube or whatever video games there are out there nowadays. The last time I played video games, I think the leading game at the time was like King Kong or Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and Galaga. Now, Galaga, I would play. If any of you guys got Galaga, bring that over. I'll play that with you. But my point is that I took a job at this place and they wanted me to dig a 10 feet, long by 5 feet, 6 feet wide and maybe 5 feet deep. And it was when you have sewage in Lake Washington, which is a very, very large and important lake here in our state. It was a restaurant, and the sewage goes into a container that gets pumped out because you're already the place was under the level of water. So the water table and things like that. So there's this area, and the sewage stuff broke, and there's just feces, crap, and pee, and it's all everywhere. And I had to dig it out, and I was covered in it from feet to about halfway up my chest. And I did the job with a smile on my face, never once complained, didn't make even a crappy joke. I just got in there, worked harder than I ever worked, was proud of the work I did. And when I was done, that's what did it. That job is what got the superintendent's eyes noticed because he was an old school hard worker. And he saw that and he said, "First off, you did an amazing job. So good. Don't come back tomorrow, but I'm going to pay you for coming tomorrow. And you're going to work a full shift tomorrow, even though you didn't do it." And I'm like, "Thank you, sir." But then what happened is it was only like, I think it was like 2, 3 weeks later, I got the job working there full time for the company. And then I became an assistant to the superintendent in only a couple months. And I had no clue what I was doing in that arena. I just had work ethics. I had been in such high end financing and building resorts in my life, but I was the builder, I was the actual developer. Well, now I'm at the bottom of the bucket again, starting up. And how would I rise so fast? I didn't know how to be a superintendent. I didn't know any of this stuff. Honestly, when you had a tape measure, my guys needed me to read something off the roof. They'd say, "Boss, what's that measurement?" I'd get up there and do something be like, 6 feet, 2 inches, and 3 lines. I didn't know how to say like 3/8 or 1/16. I couldn't figure that stupid thing out. Drove me nuts. I'm not a construction guy in that respect. Never was. But I knew how to get the job done, and I was a hard worker. My guys even kind of used to chuckle about it, especially when you got a new guy on there who knew his stuff. He's like, "Doesn't that guy know how to?" They're like, "They'll leave the old man alone. He's pretty good." But the point of that story is I shoveled shit, and I was thankful and I was grateful for that opportunity. That opportunity led me to a job that paid me then 52,000 a year. And then I got another one because of that that got me another almost 50 a year. And there it was. I was close to that 110 I needed to build this thing. I just needed one more little part-time job to get it done. And I added it and I got it. And the rest is history. That's what work ethics is. You see, a lot of times I was walking yesterday with my nephew and we did a little post on my personal Facebook. And the post talked about how people have just forgot how to have work ethics. And so it kind of spawned this conversation. And I wanted to talk about it. I'm going to end with Proverbs 13:4. So if you have it, go look there for me real quick. So Proverbs 13:4, sorry. 13:4 as we wrap this up. The soul of a lazy man desires, but has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich. Rich means you have your desires, doesn't mean millions of dollars. Rich means that you have that beautiful little quiet house at the end of a road where no neighbors are there and you're the happiest man on earth. That's what rich is. I've got a house that we're in the process of remodeling the whole thing. But right now, it's a 50-year-old house, just like me. It was built in 1975. It's when they started. So this place is 50 years old. It's got a lot of dents in it, like me. It's got a lot of creaks in it, like me. It's got some boards that ooh, they wobble a little, like me, and that's okay with me. I could live in. I went out and had to buy a new car for our organization. I could have bought. I when I called my bank and said, "What am I approved for?" They said up to 1.5 million, and I said, "No, I didn't say for a house. I said for a vehicle." And they said, "Yeah, you're up for 1.5 million." So my credit's like boop, like up there. I could go buy a Ferrari or a Porsche or any, major, a car that I want. I got a little tiny $37,000 car that gets 50 miles to the gallon, the Nero by Kia. And if you see me getting in it, it's plenty of space for me. And I'm a big guy. It's plenty of space, luxurious, lovely. Could I have gotten a bigger, better, badder, all that stuff? Absolutely. But why do that? I don't need all that. I don't need all that fancy stuff. And as I end that scripture, it talked about the sluggard, the lazy person, or the diligent. The word diligent means you care or you have consciousness in one's work or in its duties. Think about that. And I went a few minutes over, and we needed to because this is a topic that we're going to speak a lot about. Next week, I'm going to delve into some entitlement areas and some other things. So look forward to learning how we can change our society back to some good times. Doesn't mean everything in our past was good. There's a lot of bad in our past. There's a lot of bad in our future. Bad and good come and go. They ebb and flow in every part of our life. But we need to look at some of the good things in our past. And work ethics has slowly faded. So let's see if we can't bring it back. We're bringing it back here at Jonathan's Refuge. All of my men watching this know that we make grown ass men, okay, not grown ass boys. And so, as these men are learning how to have work ethics, I encourage our church and our family and our friends from around the world to work hard at what you do. Do it as though you were doing it unto the Lord. Do that job as though God Himself was standing right next to you and you were working on His plantation or on His farm or on His, office or on His backyard. I've got this big property and I'm on my back 15 all the time. I'm out there digging holes, putting stuff in the ground, digging stuff out of the ground. I don't care what the job is. I will do it. I don't have to sit up in some ivory tower. I don't live in an ivory tower. I live on the ground, on the boots with my people. And so, as I think of all the jobs I've ever had, there's not one of them that I wouldn't do again and be proud to do it because I'm proud that I can work. And that's something we need in this world a little more. God bless you guys. I love you. Take care.